Hi everybody, I'm Trish Christ. In this episode of Our Nashville, NECAT and our super crew of teenagers spend some time with pencil. President and CEO Angie Adams and her team are going to show and tell us all the cool things they do in our community. Come on in. It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville.
It's our Nashville, yeah!
It's our Nashville.
We all know how to talk about our organization during meetings, but what about the chance encounter of a lifetime? You never know who may share your next elevator, notice your logo on a notebook or a tote bag, and ask what you do. What's the clearest, most persuasive thing you can say in a short elevator ride?
Pencil proactively recruits businesses, communities of faith, and universities to bring the real world into the classroom and to interact one-on-one with Metro students to encourage their success.
We have a lot of things to learn about what you do, and I'm going to try and navigate us through the many, many elements of Pencil. And let's just start with, I know it's an acronym. Tell me what Pencil stands for.
Thank you for knowing that. Many people don't. Public education needs community involvement and leadership. So that's Pencil, all caps.
All caps, and what a wonderful purpose. Once you know it's an acronym, it kind of explains exactly what it is you guys do.
Right.
Tell me how it came to be. What are the origins of Pencil?
We are almost 36 years old, and we were founded equally by the business community, Metro Public Schools, and community activists who truly believed that our public school system would thrive and students' academic progress would escalate if the community were more involved in our public school system, and in particular if the business community were more involved in our public school system. So a group of business leaders worked with some community activists and worked with MNPS staff to create Pencil, to do nothing but recruit and place businesses, communities of faith, and other civic organizations in our school system.
We certainly benefit from that here at NECAT. I don't ordinarily point at the cameras during the shoot, but certainly all of the high school students who are our NECAT Super Crew, that is through our relationship with the schools as a Pencil partner.
Right, and that's exactly what we're after. We're after opportunities like this, where students can have opportunities to get outside the classroom, do job shadow opportunities, and have people like you come into the classroom and make what they're learning in the classroom much more relevant than just dry information from a textbook.
I'm sure you've had several success stories with business partners, nonprofit partners, individuals who are the lifeblood of Pencil. Can you give us some examples of what really works great?
You know, I think it works great when the business falls in love with the students. So there's a gentleman at Bridgestone who's really clear that he took the meeting with us, he took the tour of the school, fully intending to say no, but when he saw the students and engaged with them and thought about the impact that they could have with the students, he couldn't say no, he had to say yes. So Bridgestone went on to create an actual Bridgestone Firestone store inside one of our high schools, where the students run the store and they become certified Bridgestone mechanics through their education process.
Wow.
So just the commitment to create that space and to teach those kids on an ongoing basis has been huge. And a really fun sort of sideline to that is during the final signing of the contract to create the space, there were a team of students in the room actually experiencing what this contract process was like. And there was a young woman student who got really teary during the experience. So someone from Bridgestone asked her afterward, you know, are you okay? What happened? She said, you know, my family loves cars. I love cars. I always thought I'd be a mechanic under a car, but now I realize I want your job. So I think it's just opening kids' eyes up to all the possibilities that exist in the world.
Mm-hmm. We all know kind of the obvious, I'm joking when I say butcher, baker, candlestick maker, but the obvious professions options that are out there in the world. Even TV, when people think about, oh, I could have a job in television, they probably think news anchor. But when you look at all of the jobs that are involved in Bridgestone Firestone in a television station. There's so many integral, important roles that are not the face job that people know from a given industry.
Right.
The more I get to know different students in our partner schools, and the more I visit classrooms and get to know staff and teachers and faculty and so forth, I realize there is so much more that can be brought to a career education than what you're going to get in a classroom.
Right.
You got to start in the classroom, obviously, but seeing workspaces out in the world, getting to shadow somebody doing a job, I don't want to say it's as valuable as the classroom activity, but it's almost breathing life into the book. It's the
Right.
movie versus the what you might read in,
Right.
in a book. Tell me more about why Pencil wants input from the community for a given academy.
I think not only do we want exposure to the students like you described, workplace, environment, behavior, tone, equipment, sort of all those obvious things, but it's also just opening their eyes to the possibilities that exist in life, because as we mentioned earlier, so often you see the obvious, but you don't notice the person who's the financial wizard behind the scenes until you're actually in that environment. And so often I think once the students understand those different roles that may not be obvious, then they're motivated in different classes in ways they weren't previously. So I think having someone get out of the classroom then helps them go back to the classroom and apply themselves in different ways. And we've had great success with our high school academies over the past 11 years of the academies. And so now it's really fun that MMPS is looking to not really replicate that model, but to do something similar with the STEAM implementation at middle schools and really engaging business partners in middle schools to bring the STEAM curriculum to life and help those students who were just beginning their career exploration concepts to really think about science, technology, other fields as being opportunities that are open to them and approaching those subjects in very different ways than they would if they didn't understand what career paths were out there.
Before I came to work at NECAT, since I don't have children, I didn't really know how the school system worked, and I had not really heard, I'd heard of Nashville academies, but I didn't really understand what it was. For our viewers who don't personally have children or are not involved in the schools, can you explain the academy system?
Sure. The academies in Nashville are in their 11th year now, and so they were created, again, beautiful creation, sort of as a partnership with the business community and school staff, to create small learning communities. So at its core, it was about, in a 2,000 student high school, creating an environment so that 150 or 200 students were in pockets together, and they were developing communities and weren't getting lost in the giant high school. So it was about dropout prevention, it was about academic enhancement, and so the way that they categorized those small group learning communities was by career themes. So aeronautics, interior design, healthcare, hospitality, communications, huge variety of different academies that were created so that those students and faculty could be together throughout that high school experience and really create more stickiness, if you would, to create more community. So if a student's absent, someone notices that and makes a call to check on that student. And so happily, after 11 years, most people locally don't know it, but Nashville's Academy model is a national model, and hundreds of people from all around the country come here to study our Academy model on a regular basis to replicate it in their communities.
And I know there are several ways that Pencil Partners can serve their schools.
Right.
Can you talk us through some of the different levels? And I think there might be different levels from freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, different ways that community partners like NECAT and Bridgestone and other folks in the community are invited to participate.
Right, and it's worth saying too that we serve pre-K through grade 12, so we can talk about some of those other...
As a high school partner, I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can talk about some of those other delivery models in a minute.
Great.
But within the freshman year, it's all about the career fair. And so we recruit our business partners to set up booths at the annual career fair where all the freshmen go in the fall and tour these different businesses, if you will, to think about what career paths they might want to go in and what academies those are linked to. So that's the first opportunity. Then during sophomore year, a lot of that is about coming in and teaching in the classroom, sort of being a subject matter expert with teachers, developing curriculum that engages the students and still meets state testing standards. Then junior and senior years, it's about field trips, job shadow opportunities. And one thing that is often overlooked that I think it's important is also hosting teacher externships. That was a new word to me.
That's a word I learned as a pencil partner
Yes.
too.
So having an opportunity for teachers to leave the classroom in the summer and come into a business and study that business for a week, usually in a small team, so that then that team can go back to school and figure out how does it impact their curriculum and their lesson planning to bring that real world experience into the classroom in ways that they wouldn't if they hadn't had that experience.
We do the job shadow. Job shadow is most of what we do with our schools here, and it's cool for us because we get to meet these wonderful students. It's one of my favorite people in the world over here running this camera right in front of me, and NECAT learns from them. We learn their interests. We learn from the questions that they ask us. So I think we actually do our regular job better because I get to look into the eyes of people who are sort of seeing us for the first time and trying to understand what it is we do in the world. It helps us better define our more standard purpose.
Right. And I think so many businesses look at it on the very surface as, oh, we can impact our next workforce that we're going to hire.
Sure.
And so it's exciting to think about, I'm training my future workforce when they're in high school. And then they just sort of fall in love with the experience of that interchange back and forth, that just like you said, you're learning from the students because not only are they your next wave of workforce and they're questioning how do you do things, why do you do things, they're your next customer base as well. So looking out for things that you and I don't even notice are missing in our companies, they're pointing out to us.
That's right. So that's at a high school level. You teach me more about pre-K and middle. I didn't realize that there were roles for pencil partners in the younger groups.
Yes, and it's been interesting over our almost 36-year history, sort of the shift. When we first started 36 years ago, there wasn't a lot of good fit for partners at the high school level, so most of our partners supported elementary and middle schools. More doing one-on-one tutoring and teacher support, teacher appreciation. Based on the district's goals about elementary literacy, our main focus at the elementary level is recruiting business partners, communities of faith who can put large quantities of volunteers to read and tutor one-on-one with students who are behind in their reading skills. So that's our primary focus there, as well as still recruiting business partners to do teacher appreciation, first day backpacks for students, those type things to build community and partnership with the school. Then at the middle school level, as I mentioned, we're this year converting 18 of our middle schools within MMPS to STEAM middle schools.
Which means, for the viewer who might not know,
Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So recruiting business partners who can bring those subjects to life for students and really help them integrate that curriculum into their daily worlds in middle school and bring all of that exciting opportunity to life, because it does seem like our future as a society is so much technology focused that it's good to have people who are working in technology interacting with our middle school students. So I will say that this work is incredibly motivating to me personally because I have a student who's in Metro Nashville Public Schools, and being a parent for many years before I took this job, I knew so little about what goes on in our academies. And I have been so enriched by experiencing the work with NECAT and other entities that partner with our school that I think so often we're sort of trained as a community to think, oh, you can't get a good education in our public school system, and it's simply untrue. So I think one of the underlying motivators of Pencil's work is to really bring people into our schools, to give them real life experiences within our schools so that we can move beyond the community myth of our schools not being successful places.
I love that. it's giving the community school experience at the same time that you're giving school students community experience.
Exactly, because I think if you can get someone in a school building and they have a real interaction with teachers, with administrators, with students, they understand the power of what goes on in our schools and that there are incredible stories that need to be shared all day, every day, and for whatever reason, they're just not getting out.
By federal law, PEG channels like NECAT, we're not allowed to solicit donations on behalf of other nonprofits. And I know that viewers watch our shows, especially the Our Nashville series, and they think, oh my gosh, I didn't know about that. I want to help that entity. Other than funding, what could viewers who are inspired to further your endeavor do?
Our lifeline is volunteers. So our model really is about recruiting entities. So your business, your congregation, your book club, decide as a group to move forward and provide 8 to 10 volunteers and make a commitment for a year. We do ask our partners to make a commitment for a year, but we map out whatever that looks like based on the partner's desires. We act as the matchmaker and figure out what school can best benefit from what the partner has to offer. And it could be as simple as 2 or 3 classroom visits a year. It could be as intense as visiting and tutoring weekly. But our role is to really find out what your organization has to offer and find the right fit, and then monitor that relationship to make sure that everyone is happy and that all needs are being met.
And people would find out how to do that and who to reach out to from your website, I suppose.
Yes, pencilforschools.org.
That's great. Great. Now, the word pencil also is a little more literal. We do actually need pencils in the world.
Yes.
So we've talked about sort of the human resource that people can bring to
Right.
schools through pencil. Let's talk about the physical, tangible resources that we can also support schools with through your organization.
Right, I read a fun fact recently that the average pencil writes 45,000 words.
Interesting.
So I thought that was fun. And when you ask teachers what #1 item their students need more than anything, it's pencils. There never seem to be enough pencils in the classroom. So we are in our 13th year now of running what's called our LP Pencil Box. Louisiana Pacific is the branded sponsor of that. And it is a free teacher supply store. So it's all open to all Metro Nashville public school teachers. They can come and shop once a semester. And typically pick up between $250 and $300 worth of product. Pencils, composition books, hand sanitizer, paper towels, anything they would need to run their classroom and share with their students. Thanks to Nissan, we now have a van and we're making deliveries on a regular basis.
So the box can come to you if you can't come to the box?
Exactly.
Very good.
And last year we placed over $800,000 worth of product in teacher and student hands. And this year we're looking to exceed $1 million worth of product in student hands.
That's amazing.
Yes.
It was eye-opening to me. I was at one of our partner schools a year or two ago, and she had printed a one-sheet for us, I think. The teacher that I was working with had printed a one-sheet for me and a few other business partners. And she made a joke about, this is a precious piece of paper because it came from my very secret stash. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know if this is true for every school, but in that school, teachers get 1 ream of paper provided for the entire school year. I couldn't believe that. As a conservationist, I kind of like it.
Right.
But when I think back to all of the paper that passed through my hands as a student,
Right.
that is a change in how teaching happens if paper is such a precious commodity.
Right. And I do think it's interesting that if you walk up to a copier in a school, usually it doesn't have paper in it. The teachers have paper in their
Lock and
classrooms, and they take the paper with them when they go to the copier. So for us, we had the wonderful opportunity last school year to get a tractor trailer load of copy paper donated.
Wow.
So we made a lot of teachers incredibly happy with a lot of copy paper. It's a simple thing, but it means that they're not using their precious resources to make those purchases.
So any sort of school supply would be needed, I would think.
Right, school supplies, backpacks, something like a scientific calculator, hand sanitizer, tissue, paper towels, Ziploc bags, anything that you can think about a student or a teacher would need in a classroom.
Pre-K to 12.
Yes.
Great.
And it's important to note it's also charter and non-charter. From our perspective, charter schools are still Metro Nashville public schools.
Okay.
So whether it's partnerships or school supply product, we serve charters and non-charters alike.
My name is Joel Wright, and I am the manager of the LP Pencil Box, the free teacher supply store. So on the day-to-day, I do everything from having teachers in here hosting them to get the free supplies. So we do that a couple days every week. On top of that, we go around town and solicit supplies from the community. 100% of what we give away is donated. And then it's just running the logistics of making a retail store happen with all donated products. So we do quite a bit. Last year we had over 4,000 touch points with teachers. A little over half of that is here in the store, but also we do through backpack deliveries and several other programs that we like to run. Just to give you an idea of how much, last year we gave away 280,000 pencils and somewhere in the neighborhood of 79,000 glue sticks. That would be enough to stack a glue stick tower about 5 miles. All in all, we valued it, we gave away a little over $1.25 million in school supplies last year. We conservatively estimated about 56,000 students here in Metro receive supplies that are gathered by teachers here in the box.
Is there something in particular that you do for English language learners? Did I see? Tell me about any sort of work you might do with non-native English speakers.
So one interesting partnership activity that we do is some of our partners that we'll recruit or come in contact with aren't necessarily motivated to engage on the pure academic end. They're much more motivated to support the family structure. So Pencil operates 6 family resource centers, and those are in 6 different schools around the district. So we work very closely with those families, many of which are English language learner families, to help them connect to community resources that they need to navigate their life here easier, better, with the idea that it's to keep the children in school. So if there are barriers that mom and dad don't understand information that's brought home, we'll often work with community partners to get English language classes taught in those schools so that the family is familiar and feels comfortable and safe in the school. So we'll bring community resources in to teach, to talk about food issues, to talk about utilities, anything that can help that family integrate more and keep their child coming to school on a regular basis.
Are there other cities that you know of that have an organization similar to Pencil?
You know, it's been fascinating because you think, well, of course every city will have a Pencil. There are only about 8 or 10 of us around the country who do the partnership work that we do. And as we talked earlier about the academy model, to really implement the academy model as it's intended, those business partnerships are very critical. So we are now training other cities who are implementing the academy model on how to do this business partnership work. So we're now going into other districts and teaching them our partnership methods, which has been fun because, as you sort of touched on this earlier, every time you teach what you do, I think you learn a lot about what you do. So it's been very incentivizing to our board to think about it strengthening our activity here within Nashville to go out and have interactions with other communities.
Sure, that's cool. How are you guys different from Alignment? Tell me, I'm sure there's a relationship there, sort of working in a similar space.
Yes. When I think about Alignment's work versus our work, I really see that Alignment is wonderful about pulling a wide variety of community resources and community partners together to brainstorm a solution to a particular problem or issue that MMPS is trying to address. So let's think about nutrition.
Okay.
So pulling different partners together, Vanderbilt, Metro Health Services,
Farmers Market,
to think about how can we do school nutrition differently. So of course MMPS is at the table, but it's really brainstorming what are possible solutions, then beta testing those solutions. Whereas our model is very much about MMPS tells us what ways they need partners to engage, whether it's tutoring at the elementary end or job shadows at the high school end, and we go and recruit and place those partners. So very much hands-on, one-on-one student interaction.
What a lucky city we are to have both.
It's amazing the resources that we have here.
There's one last segment, Angie. It's the speed round.
Okay.
It's my favorite section.
All right.
And it's just like the game we used to play when we were kids, where I'll ask you a question, and the first answer that comes to mind, just let it fly, and we'll go on to the next.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Be nice.
Here we go. Speed round with Angie Adams. True or false? Pencil partnerships directly affect students and teachers in more than 93 schools.
Yes, true.
What are 3 things an individual, corporation, or nonprofit partner can do for a school?
Give their time, give an officer school supply, and say thank you to a teacher.
Ooh, thank you, teachers. What's an externship?
An externship is for a teacher to leave the classroom and go into a business and learn.
True or false? During the 2016-2017 school year, Pencil Partners invested more than 38,000 volunteer hours in metro schools.
That's true.
What word do you say more than any other word at work?
Partner.
That's good.
Partner and engagement. Those would be tied.
That's good. What mark do you want Pencil to make on the world?
That there are less children who leave high school and living in poverty.
And what's your website?
Pencilforschools.org.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
That wasn't
great.
painful at all.